Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode, we're going to do Who Was Better. The topic for this Who Was Better: two brothers-in-laws, two former tag team partners, two stablemates, the King of Hearts, Owen Hart, and the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. And if you haven't watched my Who Is Better videos before, we grade everything on a 1 to 5 scale. 1 is the worst, 5 is the best. There are going to be 8 separate categories. At the end, we're going to total up the points to see who gets the best numbers. There's also a chance for a bonus, which we'll talk about when we get there. With that being said, let's jump into our first category, technical wrestling. We're going to start with Owen. Owen, I'm giving a 5 to. To me, Owen was every bit as good as anybody on the WWE roster at the time he wrestled there. Whether that be Shawn Michaels, whether that be Razor Ramon, whether that be his brother Bret, the Bulldog, any wrestler that was in the company at the time, Owen was as good, if not better than. And a lot of them, he was better than. I would put him, for that new generation era, to me, he's one of the top 2 or 3 in-ring workers. Him, Bret, Shawn. Maybe I'd put Razor Ramon or 1-2-3 Kid in there as well. But those are the guys I look at as the great workers of that generation. That's why Owen gets a 5. Now going to the Bulldog, Bulldog's going to get a 3. And the reason the Bulldog's a little bit less, Bulldog, while he was a good wrestler, I think he more relied on his power moves. He was more of a power wrestler, more of a big guy wrestler. And not that that's a bad thing, but I don't think of him when I think of like a submission wrestler. I don't think of the British Bulldog. I think of Owen when I do. So for that, Bulldog gets a 3. Next up, striking. For Owen, I'm giving Owen a 3. Again, this is not his specialty. His specialty is that out wrestle you, out fast you, out think you, outsmart you kind of style. He was never really a brawler. That's why he gets a 3 here. For the Bulldog, I'm giving him a 4. I do think Bulldog is pretty good here. When you could mix it up, you get outside of the ring. I think this is an area where Bulldog shined a little bit more than Owen, just because it was more conducive to his style. Now going from that, we're going to go with how they perform as a heel. For Owen Hart is getting a 5. If you watch the Owen Hart and Bret Hart feud, you fully understand why Owen Hart gets a 5 here. I think his heel work is some of the best of the generation. I keep going back to that and comparing them with their contemporaries. I think it's actually a shame that he didn't at least beat Bret for a title for even just a short run where he cheated to win and then Bret won it right back from him. I think they could have easily done that and no one would have batted an eye, because Owen was one of the better heels of the time frame. Now going over to the Bulldog, I'm going to give it 3. While I think Bulldog, in his runs where he was a heel, specifically later in the Hart Foundation time, he was good, but he always felt like subservient to other wrestlers. Like in the Hart Foundation, he was basically behind Bret, behind Owen on the pecking order. Again, I thought he did good, but he gets a 3 in my opinion. Now, how they perform as a face, this is going to kind of flip-flop. Owen, I'm giving a 3. I do think Owen was a good face, and when you look at his beginning of his career, the Rocket, the high energy stuff, the blue blazer, it's good and it's fun, but do I ever see any of his face characters breaking out and going into that upper echelon, becoming a main eventer? I really don't. If Owen could have lived longer and maybe had 3, 4, 5 more years of his career where he got to be more of an anti-hero face, maybe this would be better. But from the body of work we have, I have to give him a 3. Now for the Bulldog's getting a 5. He's one of the most lovable baby faces of his time, whether it be as a tag team, one of the most loved tag teams of the 80s, one of the most loved single wrestlers of the late 80s and 1990s. British Bulldog was a quintessential face. All your wrestling fans loved him. All the kids wanted his action figures. They wanted his autograph. They wanted him to win, basically. Bulldog's absolutely a 5 as a baby face. I think he was really good. Now going into promos. For promos for Owen, I'm giving him a 4. And the only thing for me where Owen doesn't quite get to a 5 is later on in his career, it kind of felt like he took a back seat to some people. And I don't mean this in a bad way. Like in his feud with Austin, he kind of felt secondary in that feud. Or being in the Nation of Domination, he kind of felt secondary. Or even his team with Jeff Jarrett, it felt like Jeff Jarrett was more of the talker. Now, when we look at him, especially like I said in that amazing feud against Bret Hart, I think Owen was a really good talker. I just think we have some in the beginning and some in the end where he didn't quite live up to his high standards. So therefore, he comes down a peg. Now moving on to the Bulldog. For Bulldog, I'm giving him a 2. And the reason being, while he was insanely charismatic, which we're going to cover here in a minute, and he had a connection with the fans, I don't ever think that the British Bulldog had a great promo in him. I don't think it was his strong point. I don't think he necessarily needed it. But when you stack him up against the people of his generation, the Bret Harts, the Shawn Michaels, the Ric Flairs, he just doesn't add up. He doesn't get to that top level. And I would say he's kind of lower than average when he has his opportunity. That's why he gets a 2 here. Now going up next, presentation. For Owen, I'm giving Owen a 3. The main reason for this is for most of Owen's career, he basically copied what Bret the Hitman Hart did. He wore a similar singlet, similar colors, similar jacket, similar glasses. The only time he separated himself was when he would carry the Slammies or when he was the King of Hearts. I love Owen as a wrestler, but I don't think that his presentation was ever anything special. Now when we go over to the Bulldog, Bulldog is getting a 5. Whether it be the Union Jack robes of Sequence or the braided hair for some of his more famous matches, the music that was perfect for him, I don't know what the name of the song is, but you know it as soon as you hear it. He had a unique look, and a lot of it tied back to his time as part of the British Bulldogs tag team, but that look stayed with him, and everybody knew him by that. I think he just had that extra something. Whereas Owen kind of felt like I don't want to say a knockoff, but like he was copying Bret. Bulldog felt like he was his own person. Now going from that, we're going to charisma. For Owen Hart, I'm giving Owen a 4. Owen was extremely charismatic, and the only reason he doesn't get a 5, again, much like I said with his promo ability, towards the end and in the beginning of his career, he just didn't feel like he was on that level. I think at the end, he kind of didn't want to be in WWF, or didn't like the way the product was being presented, so maybe he wasn't giving his all. Unfortunately, that knocks him down just a bit. Now going to British Bulldog, Bulldog's going to get a 5. This is where Bulldog drew you in. There was something innately lovable about him, whether it be him smiling, him just being in the ring, his presence alone, his matches, his fire-up, everything about him the fans loved. And he connected. He connected on a level that few wrestlers get to connect on. For that, I'm giving him a 5. Now, last but not least, big game performances. This is your WrestleMania matches, your main events of pay-per-views, main events of house shows, title matches, stuff of that nature. I'm giving both these guys a 5. If you look back and you talk about some of the greatest matches of the generation, these guys' names are going to be mentioned. Whether it be the British Bulldogs versus the Hart Foundation, the SummerSlam Bulldog versus Bret Hart, Owen Hart, in any of his matches with Bret, their tag team together, any number of matches that either of these guys had, they always delivered when they were put in a big role. That's why they both get a 5. Now going to our total, for Owen, Owen's getting 32. For Davey Boy also gets a 32. Now wait, here's where the bonus comes in. Every Wednesday I put on my community page on the YouTube channel a poll, basically asking, who is better of the two? And whoever wins that poll gets a bonus 5 points. Basically, it's the viewers' vote for this. So the winner of that poll getting the bonus 5 points and sending him over the top for the win, the Rocket, Owen Hart. I was a little bit surprised how lopsided the vote was. I think it was 70-something%. You can see it right there when I put it up. Because I actually thought these guys were going to be more evenly loved among the fans. That's part of the reason why I picked them to go against each other, because I think they're very evenly matched. As you can see, in my scale, they were tied. But with Owen getting the blow-away win, I'm a little bit surprised at that. Not that I'm angry. I love Owen Hart. I think he's very deserving. So again, he gets a win here, and I'm very happy he did. And just like this one, stay tuned this Wednesday. On the community page, there'll be a new poll for our next Who Was Better video. There is something exciting I want to tell you guys about. If you go to my YouTube page, there's going to be a tab that says Store. If you click on that link, there's going to be a link to buy some products. Now, these aren't Heel Heat products. They're nothing that I own, but they're products that I think are cool. Some little wrestling stuff, figures, shirts, things that I found that I like that have affiliate links. And the reason I'm telling you this, if you click on one of those and buy one, I basically make some money off of that purchase. So if you want to support the channel, you want to buy some cool t-shirts, some cool figures, some cool whatever else I could find that I put in there. I think there's some stickers in there. I put some championship belts. It's always going to be changing. I'm always going to update it and rotate stuff in and out, stuff that I think you guys would like. For instance, right now, there's a lot of Penta merch just because he just debuted in WWE, and I think you guys would like that. I like Penta. I think you like Penta too. But anyway, if you want to help me out, that's an easy way to do it. And I think, honestly, it's a little bit better than a membership. Not that I'm complaining. If you want to become a member, that is awesome too. That helps me out as well. That sends me some money. But for this, I think this is a little bit better because not only are you helping me out and not only, like membership, you get little perks, but for this, you're getting an actual product, something you may have wanted to buy already anyway. Like, for instance, if you wanted the Penta mask, well, you might as well buy it and give me a kickback. It doesn't change the price of it. It doesn't raise the price, but it helps me out a bit. And that's where I think this is a cool addition. That's why I wanted to bring it up here. Check it out. Click on it. If you don't like anything, you don't like anything. If you do, maybe buy a thing or two. It definitely will help me out. It helps me to keep this channel going, to buy equipment I need. I'm going to have to buy a new laptop very soon. Mine is on its very last legs, and I'm just trying to stretch it out as long as I can so I can buy a new model. But anyway, I digress. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and you've been watching Who Was Better.